Let's talk about a disappearance, not the kind with a suspect and a weapon. This is the other kind, the quiet kind, the kind that's less about a body and more about a person being digitally erased before digital even existed. This is the story of the man who walked into his own life and then deleted the file. We're going back to the winter of 1900. The place, the remote, frozen-in-time Ozark Mountains of Missouri. Life here was hard, simple, and isolated. Communities were tight-knit. Strangers? They were the event of the season. So when a man calling himself Joseph Newton LaRoche arrived in the tiny settlement of Walnut Shade, people noticed. He was in his 40s, bearded, quiet. He bought a small rugged plot of land with cash, actual gold coins, which was unusual. He built a cabin with his own hands, and he kept to himself. But that's not the weird part. The weird part was what he brought with him. Neighbors, helping him unload his wagon, saw them. Books, dozens of them. Not farming almanacs or Bibles, but heavy leather-bound volumes. Medical texts, law books, philosophy, textbooks on chemistry and engineering. In a place where many couldn't read, this man had a frontier university in his wagon, and the tools, precision instruments, strange glassware, things that belonged in a city laboratory, not a one-room Ozark cabin. Who was he? He claimed to be a retired doctor from St. Louis, said he wanted peace, quiet. But his hands, they were soft. Not the hands of a man who'd built cabins or practiced frontier medicine. They were the hands of a scholar. He was polite, but he deflected questions. He'd talk about the weather, about crops, but if you asked about his past, a shutter would come down behind his eyes. The community, being polite themselves, eventually let him be. The educated hermit, they called him. A local curiosity. For 3 years, that was the story. Joseph LaRoche, living his quiet, bookish life. Then, in the spring of 1903, he vanished. In a drawer, under some linens, they found a small bundle of letters. They weren't addressed to Joseph LaRoche. They were addressed to a man named Theodore J. Merrill, a name that meant nothing to anyone in Walnut Shade. The return address was a prestigious university back east. The letters were correspondence about advanced metallurgical processes, the kind of stuff being pioneered for industrial manufacturing. So, Joseph LaRoche was Theodore Merrill, okay, an educated man using an alias. Why? Maybe he was hiding from debt? From scandal? Sheriff Collins, a meticulous man, started digging deeper. And in a hidden compartment under the floorboards, a compartment only found because a loose board gave way, he found the rest of his life. A marriage certificate to a woman named Eleanor from 1885, a birth certificate for a child, a daughter, born 1886, and an obituary notice clipped from a Chicago newspaper. For Eleanor Merrill, died 1898. Cause, a sudden severe illness. Their daughter, the notice said, had predeceased her. A tragedy. A man loses his family. He retreats from the world, changes his name. It's sad, but it makes sense. The mystery, it seemed, was solved. But Sheriff Collins, he wasn't satisfied. He looked at the obituary again. It was from a major Chicago paper, but it was short, impersonal. It listed no funeral details, no surviving relatives other than Theodore. It read less like a loving tribute and more like a public notice, a line drawn. And then he looked at the dates. Really looked. 2 years. Only 2 years between his wife's death and him appearing in the Ozarks with a new name. What was he doing in those 2 years? Grieving, sure, but Collins was a lawman. He thought in terms of actions, not feelings. In those 2 years, this man had 1. Left his job and his city. 2. Acquired a completely new identity, not just a name he told people at a saloon. Joseph LaRoche had a bill of sale for his land, a history that could withstand a mild scrutiny. That took money. That took connections. 3. Assembled a highly specific library and laboratory. 4. Transported it all 1,000 miles into the wilderness. This wasn't a retreat. This was a relocation, a strategic, well-funded, and secretive relocation. Collins sent formal inquiries to Chicago, to the address on the obituary, and to the university. The replies that trickled back were professional and sterile. The Merrill house had been sold to a holding company. No forwarding address. Theodore Merrill had resigned his post citing personal tragedy. He was a respected professor of applied sciences. A quiet man, a private man, that was all. It felt, Collins wrote later in his notes, less like a dead end, and more like a wall had been gently, firmly placed in front of him. Fast forward. 1905. 2 years after the disappearance. A traveling salesman is passing through a town about 100 miles from Walnut Shade. He stops at a diner, and he sees a man sitting in a corner reading a scientific journal. It's him. It's Joseph LaRoche. Or Theodore Merrill. The salesman, who'd been part of the original search party, is sure of it. He approaches. "Mr. LaRoche?" The man looks up. No shock, no fear, just a calm, blank politeness. "I'm sorry," he says. "You have me confused with someone else." His voice was flat, certain. He pays his bill with exact change and leaves. The salesman, stunned, runs to the local marshal. But by the time they get back, the man is gone. No one in the town knew him. He was just a passing traveler, a ghost, a living ghost. So, we have to ask the real question now. The dark question that history leaves hanging. What if Joseph LaRoche wasn't just hiding from something? What if he was hiding for something? Let's re-examine the facts with that in mind. Fact: a brilliant man, an expert in chemistry, vanishes from his academic life after his family dies. Fact: he acquires a flawless new identity, not the act of a grieving widower, the act of a strategist. Fact: he moves to one of the most isolated places in America. And he brings with him the means to continue his work. Whatever that work was, what was he working on in that cabin surrounded by nothing but trees and silence? The official record says nothing, but history gives us a context. The turn of the 20th century was the age of invention. It was also the age of industrial espionage, of secret processes for making stronger steel, better alloys, more efficient engines. Fortunes and empires were being built on these secrets. Was Theodore Merrill, now Joseph LaRoche, a thief? Did he steal a secret so valuable he had to disappear into a mountain to perfect it? Or was he the victim? Did he discover something, or see something, that made him a target? Did his family's sudden illness have a more sinister cause? His final disappearance, was it a choice? Or did the past, or the owners of the secret he held, finally catch up to him? Here's the darkest possibility of all, the one that fits the clean cabin, the made bed, the coffee pot left behind. What if he succeeded? What if, in that isolated cabin, he finished his work? He perfected whatever process he was hiding there to perfect. And then, he executed the final phase of his plan, to erase Joseph LaRoche, just as he had erased Theodore Merrill. He walked out of that cabin, not as a victim, but as a phantom, a man who had shed 2 skins. He had a new name, a new identity, already prepared, funded by whatever he had created or stolen. He simply stepped into a third life. A life we can't trace. He didn't leave a trail because he was a professional, a master of self-deletion, and this is where the story connects to us, right now. Because what is this if not the ultimate dark web fantasy? A man, over a century ago, performing a data wipe on his own existence. No social media to scrub, just a paper trail to meticulously reroute into a dead end. Internet sleuths today pore over cases like this. They look for patterns in the census, in ship manifests, in property records. They call it unresolved person research. And a case like LaRoche's, it's the Holy Grail, because it's clean. There's no obvious violence, just a vacuum. The theories online are wild, but they all orbit the same core idea: agency. He wasn't acted upon, he was the actor. He didn't get disappeared, he performed the disappearance. Was he a rogue inventor selling secrets to the highest bidder? A corporate defector who knew too much? Or something simpler and sadder? A man so shattered by grief he decided the only way forward was to systematically destroy every version of himself that ever knew that pain. The cabin in the Ozarks wasn't a hideout. It was a clean room. A sterile environment where the last iteration of his identity could safely be disassembled. The mystery of Walnut Shade was never a murder. It was a meticulously planned suicide of identity. The man didn't vanish. He was dismantled, piece by piece, over years. The real person he once was died long before 1903. What was left was just a shell, waiting to be emptied. So when you hear about historical mysteries about ghosts and vanishings, remember this one. The scariest monsters aren't in the shadows. They're the people who learn how to become the shadow itself. They walk among us, leave a trail of questions, and then they turn out the light on their own past. Theodore Merrill, Joseph LaRoche. Who knows what other names he had? Maybe the only true thing he ever said in Walnut Shade was his very first polite lie. I just want some peace and quiet. He wasn't hiding from the world. He was hiding from himself. And with that, he's gone. Again. Let me know what you think the real story was in the comments. Please subscribe and join us next time as we dig into another story lost to history.